Well, greetings and thanks for joining us for another episode of Lightbulb Moments, episode number 177. I'm Tom Q, and I'm host and curator of Lightbulb Moments. We're live most Wednesdays, and we're also featured on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Whether you're joining us live today or on a podcast or viewing us on YouTube, we're glad you're with us. Again, I'm Tom Q. I'm host and curator of Lightbulb Moments and CEO of Qnity. A lightbulb moment is a sudden realization, enlightenment, or inspiration, and you can't start a fire without a spark. Hopefully, these sessions give you a spark to do what's next for you. At Qnity, we're here to make what's confusing, complicated, and overwhelming to a simpler path towards prosperity, whatever that looks like for you. Remember to manage your ATM, the three currencies we have in life: attention, time, and money. And thanks for spending your precious time with us today. We love hearing from you, so submit a lightbulb moment of your own in the chat today. Send us an email or put comments, if you're on the podcast or YouTube. Again, we love hearing from you, and we're always looking for great guests. Maybe that could be you or someone you know, so feel free to stay in communication with us. Today, as a guest, we have Jayne Morehouse. She is the founder of Jayne and Company, and she's also publisher and chief content, officer of the Beauty Industry Report. We'll get to Jayne in a few minutes here. Check out recent episodes of Lightbulb Moments. We've had some great ones going into, especially in the last quarter of last year and leading into this year. And we're just getting warmed up. We've got some great sessions in upcoming weeks. We're going to continue our theme of multi-generation salon ownership, profiling some of the most successful family businesses in the industry. So stay tuned for some of these episodes. We also frequently cover subjects such as data. Certainly, we're going to be updating you on some of the data projects we're working on, including the P&L study, which is fascinating, and it is coming to conclusion very quick here. Actually, I don't know if it'll ever come to conclusion because we're always studying profitability. And then other themes that we cover is technology and touch. I would say today's episode is under the broader category of industry matters. And certainly when you're talking about industry matters, there's few people you'd rather not talk. How do I say this right? One of the people you'd want to talk to about industry matters is with us today, Jayne Morehouse. We'll get to her in a couple moments. Lightbulb Moments is sponsored by Lightheart Sanders. I'd also call them a legacy sponsor. They've basically been with us from the start. Thank you, Lightheart Sanders. And then recently, Qnity has become a sponsor of this forum. And give you a heads up, we actually will be profiling a new brand new hot off the press Qnity benchmark report on our May 5th episode. That'll be where it will be unveiled. So we're going to preview it here. It's amazing data, and that's going to be with the CEO of Qnity, Sudhir. Okay, first calendar. We always go through events here. We've got a master class coming up on succession planning on March 2nd. We also have our profit workshop on March 3rd and our growth workshop on March 4th. All of those will be in our southern hub for workshops and events, which is Austin, Texas. We're just coming back from a workshop that was in Philadelphia. This was an execution workshop. It was multi-location only. It was phenomenal. We had multi-location leaders, primarily from the eastern side of the country, and it was an amazing day and a half. And it's always good to be sitting down with leaders and owners and just getting rolling up your sleeves, finding out what their pain points are, and then help them plan, help them take control of their destiny with a simple planning system, which uses a lot of visual tools, which is our execution curriculum. Also, we are starting a succession circle, which is a cohort group that Smith and I work with. We usually start like one group a year, and that's about it. And then we've got a Minneapolis program on April 7th and 8th on execution. And then, of course, the Phil on May 18th and May 20th. What's not up here, as part of the Phil, is the celebration of Lightbulb Moments on Sunday evening, May 18th. And we've got some surprises coming up with that. So stay tuned. You're going to hear a lot more about our Austin-based events, May 18th through 20th, celebration of Lightbulb Moments, as well as our 4th annual, Phil? I think it's the 4th. Someone put in the chat. I don't know. All right, the P&L benchmark study. It's definitely been a major focus of mine in recent months. It's the data project that we've sunk our teeth into. We did release the Jayne compensation report, which Jayne well knows because she's part of ISBN and a board member who was a sponsor of that. So data, and this data I think will fundamentally change how salons do business. I don't think I'm overstating that because there certainly has been a lot of movement in the profit and loss statements for salons, not only in the last several years, like post-pandemic, but even going back to 2013. What's unique is we're able to actually look at 2023 performance and 2013 performance, providing some very interesting insights. All right, we've also got our Monday noon calls, which are spaced out once a season, and then our function forums, which are also once a season, and both of these are great forums to really dig deeper into different parts of your business. And then with the Phil, our theme is play, and here's where we're going to introduce gamification. We're also going to really honor tactile learning. And so when you think of play, think of not childish play, but play that is adult type play that has an element of sophistication to it. And so prepping for the Phil is always a wonderful thing because it always helps us push the boundaries. All right, what else do we have for you here today? Don't forget about Money 02, which is a podcast. She is interviewing some amazing financial professionals, so check it out. My last Lightbulb moment really had to do with the serious business. We did a little bit of a recap of serious business. And this week, my Lightbulb moment is all going to be with Jayne Morehouse. So without any further ado, Jayne, why don't we bring you to the mic, bring you to the screen. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, Tom. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm going to bring up one more slide actually before we dig in. So then I'm not going to bring up any more slides. And I think it's appropriate to what we're going to talk about. So on the screen, if you're able to view, we have the most recent beauty industry report. And then we also have the once a year, I think it's once a year, Jayne, beauty industry calendar. And someone will put in the chat how to get access to the beauty industry report and the calendar. And we're going to be mentioning both of these today. So I'm going to take them off the screen right now. And then Jayne, we can get started.
Great. And we, and just for clarification, we update the calendar quarterly and it's a rolling update. So the April updates will have as many January 2026 as possible from the events that have already passed this year, so people know when they are next year.
It has to be the only updated calendar in the industry. Are you
the only updated, and it's the largest. We work really hard. It's US, it's Canada, it's international. And there's a lot of different events that are great for both stylists and salon owners, as well as distributors and brands.
And there's no charge to get that calendar, is that
None
correct?
at all. I post it every couple of weeks on my LinkedIn, and it's up there now. If you want to download it, you can always download it for free, whether you subscribe to Beauty Industry Report or not.
All right, perfect. I think JP's on it in the chat there. All right, so to give a proper introduction to you, Jayne, which when I think of Jayne, I think of we've known each other for a very, very long time, and you're frequently behind the scenes at big events with your camera, and you're that person that kind of walks around, sort of just trying to be a little bit of a fly in the wall, walking around, snapping pictures of people. That's how I think of Jayne, and you seem to know everybody in the industry, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. I think that's true. I really love being behind the scenes and hearing what's going on and photographing everybody so I can report it to all the people who weren't at each event. but I'm trying to do a little more things like this so people actually know why I'm creeping around behind them at shows.
Well, we're pleased to bring you to our audience because most of our audience has not had the opportunity to meet you. So a quick background. So you're founder of Jayne and Company, AI powered, you might want to come back to that later, the AI powered piece, public relations, a modern content development and information distribution agency. It's part of what you do. You're also publisher and chief content officer of the Beauty Industry Report, which we just showed on the screen, which is the definitive media resource for leaders in personal care, beauty, and wellness. And I will add this to that, especially for distributors, beauty brands, rep firms, and chain salons. That's the primary audience, but it is industry-wide. Background includes past editor-in-chief of American Salon Magazine, author of Milady's Public Relations for the Salon, and you currently serve on the board of trustees not only for the for ISBN, which is for larger multi-unit salons, but also on hair care advisory board for Hair to Stay. I want to come back to that too. In 2024, you were awarded the Fred A. Patanini.
Piatotti.
Boy, did I just kill that. Award for industry service from Cosmetologist Chicago and America's Beauty Show. And she lives with her 3 rescue Parisian cats, Jasmine, Ollie, and Daisy in Cleveland. And I've met 2 of those cats. So,
And with any luck, they will not make an appearance.
all right. And you're also in Cleveland. I was cheering for Cleveland last night in the NBA. I really want Cleveland to win a championship in a sport sooner rather than later. So
We need something that our team wins, not just LeBron. So that would be great. We've got an incredible basketball team this year. So we're really excited.
it's remarkable. All right. So again, we're really talking about industry matters today. And the ecosystem of the professional beauty industry has so many elements to it. And it's knowing what's going on with distributors, the brands, the chain salons, I think benefits everybody. And so let's get into that a little bit. And then, so I've reviewed your last couple issues, and things that you cover are going to be trends, regulations, compliance, salon growth and profitability, leadership changes, and so a couple things that piqued my interest, all right, that I want to discuss with you that were in recent reports. One that I think is really interesting is that there is, let me see the distilled version of this. Okay. Retail trends show consumers prefer strip malls over traditional malls, potentially impacting salon locations. Very interesting. A little bit more on that. So Macy's is moving out of shopping malls and they're moving to strip malls. And while shopping malls have struggled to retain shoppers, annual visits to strip malls were up 18% in 2023 compared to before the pandemic. Strip malls, that's where it's at, huh?
I think that's really interesting. I mean, because as we've been in the industry about the same amount of time, and I think we've seen salons come and go into all different kinds of locations, from office buildings to malls to strip malls to independent locations, standalone. But I think they always come back to strip malls, and salons have always known this, I think, because it's so easy for the customer. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're going to the salon, to Sally Beauty, to the new mini Macy's locations, or to the paint store. You can just drive up, park right in front. You don't have to fight the mall traffic. You don't have to fight all the other issues with the malls. Like, I live right behind a mall, and I haven't been there since before the pandemic, and I used to be there all the time. But there's so many challenges to it right now that I think the strip mall is just so easy. And they almost always have, a coffee shop in there too. And different places where you can just run in, get your hair done, grab a coffee, grab anything else you need, and then you're back out.
I think that's really super interesting. And it's also very actionable if you're really looking at it or contracting. I could think of a perfect example of that right here in the Twin Cities without mentioning any names. And, multi-location business, very successful, multi-generational, just great people. And they've really struggled with their mall location and really struggle also with the mall mall ownership and all of that, so very
I
interesting.
think for a lot of salons too, I know for some of the ISBN salons that are in shopping centers, a lot of times it allows them to actually own their real estate and own their location. So long term, it cuts their costs. And then a lot of times they'll even own the entire shopping center so they can rent to the other tenants, which can pay their own rent. So I think that depending whether it's that or right down the street from me, I have a Sola, and the Sola's in a shop strip center, with a dermatologist and a breakfast place and a laser place and like I think 4 other stores. So it's just no matter what it is, it's just so easy to just drive up, get your hair done, get your nails done, get your facial, and go home.
It makes common sense, and it's interesting to see the data is supporting the common sense. I very much can relate with that because from a health club standpoint, I belong to actually 2 fitness for different reasons. One's Lifetime Fitness, which is massive, and every time you go there, you go in the parking lot, you got to walk, I don't know how far to the entrance, you got to show your pass, you got to go up the steps, and it's like, I just want to be working out. And then I also belong to just like a gym where you pull up right to the front door. It's 24/7. You do a kiosk and you're working out like now. Anyway, all right.
Well, again, too, at the mall that's right by my house, there's Planet Fitness on the outside of the mall. So it's a mall, but it's its own parking lot. There's a private training gym I would much rather go to, but it's in the mall.
Mm,
And so I just don't want to deal with all that,
yeah.
especially around the holidays. I mean, it's not like it used to be, but it's still it's much more of a task when you just want to go work out and then go home. Now Dick's Sporting Goods took over their location and they're putting in this huge lifestyle center, which I think is really interesting from a salon standpoint and all kinds of lifestyle centers opening. So they're moving, but I don't know where. I'm hoping they're moving to a shopping center because then I would switch to them.
All right, let's get to something else that actually came in your October issue because you had one in October and one in January. What's your calendar? What months do you skip?
It just depends on what's happening. And for example, like the January issue was a Cosmoprof Miami preview.
Yeah.
So that's done to come out the week before the show. So we kind of have pre-show issues, post-show issues.
About how many
When
per
I
year?
get to them, we try to do them at least every other month, if not every month.
You do 6 to 8 per year, something like that. Okay, gotcha. Well, there's something else. So something else in October that I thought was interesting. A new FTC rule, and by the way, I'm kind of not throwing a curveball at you, but I didn't mention which ones I'd highlight today, so don't expect you to know this off the top of your head. But it was new FTC rule on fake reviews. Salons and beauty brands must ensure compliance, avoiding penalties of up to $51,744. Let's just kind of play this one out. So let's say that a salon has some type of plug-in with some technology thing that feeds reviews, and there's an AI element to it. I don't know enough about this particular topic, but let's talk about this one because this is a serious thing that needs to be on people's radar because literally if a small salon posted a review that was AI generated, they could be subject to a substantial penalty per violation. So in other words, that would mean if there was 10 10 violations, that's $500,000. Yikes.
I think that's an excellent point, Tom. This has a lot to do with the fake reviews on Amazon. I think everybody listening out there knows that for several years, a lot of the Amazon reviews were either they were generated fake or they weren't necessarily fake, they were paid for. Like someone would send out a product and say, hey, if you go on Amazon and write about this, I'll send you 20 bucks, or I'll send you a gift card for our other product. And they really want to discourage that because so many consumers today, if they're going to buy something new or they're going to get a new service, the first thing they do is go online and look. And, and that's become a really big issue. The big companies will always find a way around it. But it's much more to stop them, I think, than salons. But
Right.
salons have to be really careful too, because if someone discovers a review is fake, and it might not even be yours. I know from following salons that sometimes they get fake negative reviews of people who are an ex-employee or someone who just,
Mm.
you wouldn't refund their $300 color because it was great. And they go write a fake review. And that kind of thing might help salons because you could report that.
Interesting. Huh. All right. I'm gonna highlight something else. I think this was in your January issue, and this had to do with someone that actually is listening in today, Michael Shea.
Oh,
Hello, Michael Shea. I know he's out there. I saw him logged in today. So let's talk about
hi,
this.
Michael. Hi, Karen.
So they have a school out in Seattle, and they raised $32,000 for Hair to Stay, which is obviously philanthropic. So Mike, there he is right there. He raised his hand. Hello, Michael. Do you want to speak about that? Because let's talk about that a little bit, because the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Hair to Stay is our good friend Sydney Berry. And then you're involved in Hair to Stay. Michael Shea's involved in Hair to Stay. So let's talk about Hair to Stay for a moment, okay? And really what Michael and Karen had done and how they raised that much money.
Well, I think at the center of all of our worlds right here goes back to Sydney Berry because
Who actually is with us
oh,
today,
she is. I
Sydney.
can't see the other people. I can only see you.
Okay, well, here we have some special guests listening in today. So, okay.
Oh, how great. But she's been the driver behind this in the industry since she joined the board a few years ago. Everybody knows Sydney. Everybody knows she's been a stylist, a salon owner, a distributor. She's been chair of the Professional Beauty Association. She's run everything in the industry you could possibly run. And she has a huge circle of influence. And anytime she calls any of us to ask for help, you never ever say no to Sydney Berry. It's just a rule because she's also the nicest person in the world. And she got me involved with this a couple years ago. And she told me all about Michael and Karen and introduced me to them. And I spent a couple hours on the phone with Karen. It was so much fun. And she told me they've been doing fundraisers for years and years and years now. And this year they did Hair to Stay. And I mean, can you imagine a single school raising $32,000 in one event? I mean, it just shows the power of beauty. And I mean, I wish everyone could see this. I don't know if you can put it on camera, but they basically did a fashion show with a Barbie theme, and their students did the hair and the makeup and the concepts and the costumes, and it's just incredible. And then they used it all. I mean, it was a great learning experience for their students, and then they used it all to raise money for Hair to Stay. And I don't think we've said this yet. Hair to Stay is the only 501c3 charitable organization that raises money to provide scalp cooling therapy to low-income women who are undergoing chemotherapy. We all know that during chemotherapy, most kinds of chemotherapy, women can lose their hair, and scalp cooling can help prevent or minimize that. And it helps a woman feel a little more like herself, and especially younger women with younger kids. And cancer is hitting people younger and younger and younger than it ever has. which I think makes this even more important. And it hits our industry so much. And as a result of that, we have a special Sydney Berry Fund, which if you do a fundraiser, you can designate it to go to Here to Stay or to the Sydney Berry Fund. And then it goes to women in our industry, which I think, again, is incredibly important. And it shows the power that we have when we work together for such an important cause.
All right, well, that's we're going to be hearing more about that in the future. And before we leave the subject to Sydney Berry, she's also known as the Queen Bee of Beauty, and she also is one of just a handful of recipients of the Golden Light Bulb, which means this year she has the opportunity to present the Golden Light Bulb to whoever this year's winner will be. So, all right. Other things in the beauty industry report, you know, there is something in there, personalized beauty and AI shopping trends. AI-powered tools like virtual try-ons and AI-driven skin analysis are transforming the client experience. Is that a subject you can speak to?
As technology is becoming more and more important, and Tom and Sydney and some of the other people out there know that I basically won't stop talking about AI and technology. It's something that doesn't come naturally to me, but I started taking some classes during the pandemic and then just took more and more and more to where I take 10 hours a week of AI classes. And it can do anything. Um, one of the most important, you've seen for years where you can, scan in a photo and see what your hairstyle looks like. But it just kind of looked like a doll head and there you are. Now it's you wearing that style. And the same with makeup, the same with, fashion and jewelry. It's not just beauty. And it can show you in any kind of circumstance, and it makes the consultation process so much easier. Most of these technologies are incredibly inexpensive for what you can do with them, but they can help you upsell, and they can certainly help you just give the consumer a much better idea of what she'll look like. I mean, we all know, here comes a client, she brings in a picture, now she shows you a picture on her phone of what she says is the hair she wants. What she really wants is to look like that model. And she does not look like that model and will not, no matter what you do, no matter how much she has her own beauty. She wants to look like Kendall Jenner. This actually lets you put her picture in and say like, hey, let's just do a double check. Here's what these chunky highlights look like on you. And you know what? If we add lashes, look what you'll look like with this new hair and lash extensions. And it really changes the ability of what we have, of all the different ways we have to make our customers more delighted than ever before. And I mean, and that's why we're all here.
You know, did you say you study AI 10 hours a week?
I do.
Yeah. And how long you been doing that for?
I was taking a bunch of marketing classes during the pandemic. I mean, I was home for 2 years. I just got into the online class thing that everybody was doing. And one of the people I was studying marketing with did like a whole day where he brought in all his friends to teach different kinds of classes. And one of those happened to be AI. And that was my first real in-depth exposure to it. I mean, I'd had the peripheral exposure about AI's great, AI's coming, but not really seen firsthand. So I signed up for that guy's first class. And then I signed up for his next class. And then I signed up for his next class. And the great thing about it is, they go from anywhere from 12 to 26 weeks, and then they start over. And on Mondays, we'd spend the first 20 minutes reviewing everything that changed since Thursday. That's how fast it's changing. So it became really fun. I taught a class on it 2 weeks ago at Cosmoprof Miami. But it's something brands and distributors and rep groups and my PR agency and Here to Stay and Karen and Michael's Beauty School and everyone can really use, both to make their businesses more efficient, but more importantly, to really enhance their customer experience.
Yeah. I think that we're going to be seeing more and more tangible examples of that. And, there's an area of AI that I've become increasingly curious about, and that's all of these existing platforms that we all use and how AI is fused into it now. And I mean, Zoom, SurveyMonkey, I mean, we can go on and on. I mean, Gemini and Google. So there's these independent apps that like a Chat GPT that lives out there, and then they're being infused into your existing core technology platforms that you run your business, whether you're a company like Qnity, a salon, a spa, manufacturer, or a content creator like yourself and PR agency.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And I think it's so important for the beauty industry that what you saw was the first in what's now going to be a monthly column on AI in Beauty Industry Report. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be talking about it every month. And my biggest challenge is really how to limit it. I mean, I could do a full issue on AI.
Yeah.
I get probably 25 AI newsletters every morning.
Mhm.
And it's just incredible what's happening. And then how each AI itself is developing, like you mentioned, Chat GPT. Many platforms of other AIs are built on Chat GPT. So when you learn Chat GPT, which you can do really easily, you're learning everything. And one thing I think is really fun too, like I've noticed in a lot of the stylist groups, that someone will say like, how do I say this to my client? And five other stylists will come on and say, oh, I put this into Chat GPT and here's what they suggested. So I love that they're using it. And it just shows you don't have to be a huge company to benefit from it. And Chat GPT, the starter levels are like 20 bucks a month.
Right on. Well, um, we could spend forever talking about AI, and let's talk about another passion of yours that is where you really belong to several groups of stylists. And so you have your own way of doing research by just watching the commentary on stylist Facebook. And how many of these stylist groups do you belong to that you stalk?
I don't know. There's a lot of different ones between the stylists themselves, between the associations. I mean, all the different associations all have their own, and I'm members of most of them, like PBA and ISBN. Um, then all the brands have them. So there's all different kinds of places. But their conversation to each other is always the most interesting because it
Yeah,
shows you what's really on their minds. And then
yes.
I have, you know, hundreds of stylists I talk to on a quarterly basis just to find out what they're doing. Um,
So
because
what's on their
that's what
mind?
every distributor and brand needs if
Yeah.
they're going to succeed.
What's on their mind? Can you distill into two or three things that you see are reoccurring themes that either have changed pre-pandemic or they're alarming or comforting? What would be two or three sort of general ahas you have with your informal research?
I think the most important positive one is that so many stylists still have a great passion for the business, the passion that brought them into this. And the more they've learned how to do hair and create beauty for their clients, the more they realize how they change their clients' lives, the more that passion grows. And I think that's there no matter what. And then you have the challenges. I mean, one of the biggest challenges right now is clients canceling last minute every single day. And somebody can come in on Wednesday thinking they have a full book and suddenly four clients cancel. And so we need to help them find solutions for that. The big one is simply cancellation fees, which we all know our doctors do and our dentists do, and our personal trainers do. Like everybody kind of does that now, but that doesn't do anything to strengthen the relationship. You know, if anything, even though it's the client's fault, it tends to annoy them and might make them go try somewhere else. Where if stylists already have that when the client comes to them to begin with, then they understand and it's an acceptable part of the whole transaction. But
So,
I think that's really important. I mean, it's a matter of making your the other thing I see stylists say a lot, and I find this really disheartening, and I think we really have to help them with that from the school up, is they say, well, we aren't essential. You know, we're an add-on service when you have the extra money. And it's like, my stylist is very essential to me. So is my nail technician, so is my esthetician. And you've got to make yourself be essential again. Maybe not during the pandemic because we couldn't leave the house and we probably couldn't go to the salon. But I mean, I certainly wouldn't go to a show or a big event or anywhere without getting my hair colored. I mean, I just wouldn't. I mean, it's other than the veterinarian, that's the most essential thing I have, more than any of my personal doctors.
let's
And
go back.
that's probably not the brightest statement in the world, but you know, it's one of those to to feel good, you've got to feel good and you've got to have the confidence, and that comes from what your stylist does. And so I really, really want them to know how essential they are and to feel that pride. I mean, they really, you know, they might know like, oh, I did this bride's hair on her big day and I really helped her. But, you know, we're all kind of that bride every time we sit in the chair. It's just not as big an event, but you want to feel good wherever you go.
Certainly the self-esteem, the mental health, the pride, the confidence is something that has been prevalent for a very long time. And there's no easy solution to that, but it takes a village to really move that. I mean, we all know, and one of the main reasons for us to do our compensation studies is because of the difference between perception and reality on earnings. But the perception and the reality, really starts from the inside out. I mean, really, the true reason we did the study is because most stylists didn't realize how much money they were making and just bought into the narrative that they heard in high school and whatever. I'm going to go back to cancellation fees for a moment, okay? What I don't know is, and this is where we should do a little research or maybe see if anybody wants to put in the chat, have they noticed an increase in cancellations in recent years? Number one, I don't have the
Definitely.
answer to that. I'd love
And
to see.
not just cancellations, same day. Like,
Right.
like if I cancel my hair appointment next week, my stylist has time to fill it. If I
Yeah.
cancel my hair appointment at 3 o'clock because this runs late, she can't fill that. And it's lost income to her.
It's a deeper dive into cancellation. And I do know that when looking at last year's Qnity report, when they were correlating revenue and all of that, there was a special data point regarding cancellations and comparison between top performing and non-top performing. And a key attribute was managing cancellations through reminders, through this, all that kind of stuff. We're getting a little bit of feedback saying that that yes, cancellations. Yeah. All right. So good morning, Con, by the way. Thanks for being with us today. Early morning. We're going to talk later today of Karen Allen. She said her cancellation has decreased since they applied the cancellation fee. Good on you. And then Heather Allen. Hello, Heather Allen. More cancellations last minute. All right. I'm watching the clock here. Jayne, you are just such a wealth of information and such a great person too. You care so much for this industry and you help so many different people, and you're no longer behind the scenes with this group. Okay. Uh,
Good.
hopefully we're going to see you at the Phil. And before I forget, just a reminder that you'll get your $1 million light bulb. If everybody could give Jayne a virtual round of applause, give her a little bit of shout out there, show her a little love. And then this officially indoctrinates you into the Brain Trust, which means you will be one of the people we celebrate on the night of May 18th as a celebration of Lightbulb Moments.
Oh, how exciting. Well, thank you so much. Tom and I kind of go off like this just when we're talking, just the two of us. So it's fun to share our thoughts with everybody else too. I know he and I feel the same way about a lot of different issues, and we just want to help everybody in beauty be their best and feel their best and love this career. So if this can do that in any way, it's really a
Well,
great thing. And
well,
hi,
those are
Robert. Hi, Sydney. Hi, Michael. I'm just seeing the chat. Hi, Heather.
Well, those are great closing words because that's right. I think that everybody and people that take the time to listen to this forum also is, you know, they're what makes the industry sing. They take the time to fill their bucket and maybe find a light bulb moment of their own. So anyway, and Steve Reese, good morning. Good to see you. Steve is going to be a guest. He doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to have Steve as a guest on soon on some of the work that Pivot Point's doing, studying wellness in the beauty industry. And Robert Reed, we're going to see at the Phil. God bless you, Robert. You had a couple fires that you've gone through, a fire in your own warehouse. And then everything happened down in LA, and your team just stepped up to help people in LA where you're trying to still take care of yourself. What a great guy. Then we already talked about Sydney and Michael. So, as well as everybody else joining us today, we love having you be part of this. I want to respect your time, everybody. We don't like to go more than 45 minutes. So, we will see you next week, hopefully. Jayne, feel free to join us every Wednesday too. We'd love to have you in the
Thank
background,
you. I
putting in
will.
some chat, and watch for your $1 million light bulb. So,
Great. Thank
all
you,
right, everybody.
everybody.
Thanks again for joining us.